In the heart of an opulent cafe where the air is thick with the aroma of rich coffee and whispered ambitions, a poignant scene unfolds. A young girl no older than 10 sits alone at a secluded table, her fingers tracing the empty space where a braille menu should be. Her voice, barely a whisper, repeats a desperate plea, "Mommy, come back soon. Mommy, come back soon." Her eyes, hidden behind dark sunglasses, betray none of the fear that grips her heart. Jade Robinson, the 26-year-old waitress, pauses mid-wipe of the counter, her gaze locked on the scene. She has seen this before, the entitled oblivious to their own dependency, leaving their children in the care of strangers. Yet this child is different. Despite her flawless attire and poised posture, a slight tremor in her hands speaks of a vulnerability that stirs Jade's empathy. "Has anyone taken table 7 yet?" Jade inquires, her voice tinged with concern, directed at Kevin, the manager. His fingers dance across his phone screen as he responds without looking up. "VIP customers. Wait for Mrs. Bennett to return. She's very particular about who serves her daughter." Mrs. Bennett, the illustrious Victoria Bennett, CEO of Bennett Technologies, known for her magazine cover smile and her reputation for unyielding perfectionism. Crossing her could mean the end of one's career. "It's been 20 minutes. Jade insists, her voice now edged with urgency. "The girl looks terrified." Kevin, finally lifting his gaze, his irritation palpable, retorts, "Jade, do I really need to remind you that you're on probation? Don't make my life harder." Just then the girl's hand slips, knocking over a vase. Water splashes across the table, drenching her dress. Her lips quiver as she fumbles with napkins, trying in vain to clean up what she cannot see. Without a second thought, ignoring Kevin's warning, Jade strides across the room, her steps resolute, her heart pounding with a mix of defiance and compassion. As the weight of countless gazes bore into her, Clara felt a gentle touch on her shoulder. "Hello, friend," came a voice as soft as the morning light, soothing the storm of her confusion. "I'm here to help. My name is Jade." Clara, startled, froze in her spot, her small frame tense with uncertainty. "Where's my mom?" Clara asked, her voice barely above a whisper, eyes darting around in search of familiarity. "She's not back yet," Jade responded, her tone laced with concern. "I'm a waitress here. Can I help you clean up this little mess? And perhaps bring you something while you wait?" The tension in Clara's shoulders seemed to melt a little at the kindness in Jade's voice. "I'm Clara," she said, her voice tinged with guilt. "I knocked the flowers over. Mom's gonna be so upset." Jade quickly absorbed the spill with a cloth, her movements swift yet gentle. "Accidents happen," she reassured, her eyes twinkling with sincerity. "You can hardly see it anymore." "You're lying," Clara replied, a shy smile creeping onto her face. "I can tell when adults lie to make me feel better." Jade let out a laugh, taken aback by Clara's perceptiveness. "Smart girl. Okay, there's a tiny stain, but it's nothing serious. Are you hungry?" Clara hesitated, her mother's words echoing in her mind. "Mom said not to ask for anything until she gets back." "And when did she leave?" Jade asked, her brow furrowing with concern. "When the clock said 3, Clara answered. Jade checked her watch, her heart sinking. "It's almost 5. How about some hot chocolate while you wait? I promise it'll be our little secret." The smile that bloomed on Clara's face was like the sun breaking through clouds. Jade returned not just with hot chocolate, but also with a sandwich and cookies, arranging them before Clara. She described each item, her voice painting pictures, with words guiding Clara's hands to explore the treats. "You describe things differently," Clara noted between bites, her voice filled with wonder. "My younger brother is blind," Jade explained softly. "I've learned how crucial it is to treat someone as a person, not just their disability." For 15 precious minutes, Jade sat with Clara, their conversation, a gentle dance of shared stories and laughter. Clara transformed from a scared, lonely child into a beacon of excitement and brightness, shared tales of her favorite Braille books and her love for music. Unbeknownst to them, a black Mercedes silently rolled up outside its presence, unnoticed by the two engrossed in their newfound friendship. Victoria Bennett, the formidable CEO of Bennett Technologies, stood outside the quaint cafe, her eyes piercing through the glass with a blend of intrigue and calculation. Her gaze, razor-sharp, missed not a single nuance of the interaction unfolding between the waitress and her daughter Clara. The scene inside was one of laughter and warmth, a stark contrast to the cold scrutiny from outside. "Would you like me to accompany you, ma'am?" her driver inquired, breaking her reverie. "No, wait here," she commanded, her voice as firm as her resolve. Her eyes never leaving the waitress, who was now coaxing peals of laughter from Clara with a whimsical story. Stepping into the cafe, Victoria was immediately approached by Kevin, who stumbled over his apologies. She brushed past him, her attention fixed solely on the table where Jade Robinson was bidding farewell to Clara. "Jade Robinson, isn't it?" Victoria's voice cut through the air, cold and controlled. Jade's heart skipped a beat. How on earth did this formidable woman know her name? "Yes, ma'am." She managed her voice barely above a whisper. "I see, you've taken the liberty of feeding my daughter." Victoria observed, her gaze sweeping over the remnants of their meal, the empty plate, the smudged chocolate, the half-eaten cookies. Her expression remained unreadable, a mask of composed indifference. "How much do I owe you for the meal?" she asked, her hand reaching into her designer purse. "Nothing," Jade replied, her voice firm with unexpected defiance. "It was on the house." A palpable tension enveloped the cafe, as if the very air was holding its breath. After what felt like an eternity, Victoria spoke. "All right." She took Clara's hand, her touch gentle yet possessive. "Let's go, honey." As they departed, Clara's voice echoed back. "Can we come back tomorrow? Jade promised to teach me the difference between cappuccino and macchiato by smell." Jade knew then with a sinking heart that her job was as good as gone. What she couldn't know was that outside Victoria Bennett was already sending a message to her personal assistant. "I want everything on Jade Robinson by tomorrow morning." In the intricate dance of power and secrets, everything was a promise of thorough investigation, a prelude to the unfolding drama. Oh, how life's intricate tapestry unfolds with each thread woven from dreams, deferred, silent battles fought, in the relentless pursuit of what one desires. Victoria Bennett, ever the master of her domain, always secured her heart's desires. Yet if this tale of compassion and serendipitous meetings has stirred your soul, imagine the ripples a single act of kindness can send through the lives of those whose paths were never meant to converge. As rain mercilessly battered the window of Jade's modest apartment, her eyes fell upon the resignation letter from Café Lumière lying beside an eviction notice and a stack of overdue bills painting a somber tableau of her life. The shrill ring of her cell phone pierced the gloom. It was Daniel, her 16-year-old brother, blind since 5, due to a harsh bout with meningitis. "Don't give up," his voice a soothing balm whispered through the line. "You always said everything happens for a reason." "I lost my job for helping a child, Danny. What could be the reason for that?" She pondered aloud, her voice laden with despair. The intercom buzzed, shattering the moment. A professional, detached voice announced, "Miss Robinson, I am Margaret Chun, legal assistant at Bennett Technologies. Mrs. Bennett requests your presence for a meeting at 9:00 a.m." 45 minutes later, Jade, clad in her finest thrift store attire, navigated the opulent lobby of Bennett Technologies. The stark contrast between her and the well-heeled executives was palpable. Upon reaching the 45th floor conference room, Victoria Bennett stood surveying the city below like a monarch over her realm. Without a glance, she gestured to a chair. "Yesterday you served my daughter when I specifically instructed you to wait for my return." Victoria stated, her tone meticulously neutral. "She was hungry," Jade answered, her voice soft yet firm. Victoria turned, her gaze piercing. "Do you know why I left Clara alone for nearly 2 hours?" The question caught Jade off guard. "No, ma'am." "To see who would notice her. A social experiment," Victoria explained. 17 people passed that table. Employees, customers, her manager. Her words trailed off, leaving an echo of intrigue and anticipation in the air. "Amidst the bustling crowd, you alone," paused Jade. A wave of indignation surged through you as the realization hit you we're using your own daughter as bait to gauge humanity's depths. A subtle, knowing smile played on Victoria's lips. Clara, caught in this orchestrated game, understood the rules all too well. Margaret, with a solemn air, placed a folder before Jade. Inside lay a check for wrongful termination. its value staggering far beyond anything Jade had ever imagined. Yet with a voice steady and firm, Jade declared, "I'm not for sale," sliding the folder back with a decisive shove. Victoria's eyebrow arched in genuine astonishment. "Everyone has a price," she countered, only to be met with Jade's fiery rebuttal. "Not me, and to use your blind daughter as bait, it's revolting." The room fell into a tense silence thick with unspoken words. Margaret looked as if she might collapse from the sheer audacity of Jade's defiance. No one had ever dared speak to Victoria Bennett in such a manner. "Interesting," Victoria murmured after a moment, her voice tinged with a newfound respect. Clara, usually detached, inquired about Jade, a rare sign of her interest. In that instant, Jade caught a glimpse behind Victoria's icy facade, a mother genuinely intrigued. "I have a different proposal," Victoria announced, sliding yet another folder across the polished table. "Clara needs a companion. The salary is, well, it will make your heart skip a beat." The figure mentioned was tenfold what Jade earned at the cafe. "Why me?" Jade asked, her voice laced with suspicion. "My daughter has an uncanny ability to detect insincerity." "You, Jade, are genuine," Victoria explained as Margaret produced another folder. "Your background is impressive, dropping out of college to care for your brother, working 3 jobs to afford his specialized schooling. Impressive." Jade felt a chill run down her spine. "How did you get this information?" she demanded, but Victoria brushed the question aside with a dismissive wave. "I have resources. Your brother Daniel is a prodigious pianist. Wellington Academy would be the perfect place for him, the most prestigious music school in the country, and well out of reach for someone like him." "That's emotional blackmail." Jade shot back, her anger barely contained. "No," Victoria corrected, "this is business. I'm offering opportunities for both of you." As Jade left the room, her phone buzzed with a call. Wellington Academy was on the line, eager to schedule an audition. That night, Jade's mind was consumed by the enigma of Victoria Bennett. With a fervor bordering on obsession, she delved into the depths of Victoria's past, piecing together a tapestry of unsettling truths. There were whispers of former employees who vanished from the professional world, competitors ensnared by coincidental scandals, and a nanny who had once dared to challenge Victoria in court only to inexplicably withdraw her accusations. Yet among these threads, Jade unearthed something more poignant, a tragedy that had befallen Clara, Victoria's daughter, 5 years prior. The accident that robbed Clara of her sight, with Victoria behind the wheel, distracted by the incessant ping of her phone. The story had vanished from the media as quickly as it appeared, like a stone sinking into the depths of a silent lake. The next day, as Daniel's fingers danced across the piano keys at Wellington Academy, his music so pure it brought tears to the eyes of his teachers, Jade felt a resolve crystallize within her. She would not merely infiltrate Victoria Bennett's world for her brother's sake. She would do it for Clara, too. The brilliant girl ensnared in a life of gilded opulence, a mere pawn in her mother's ruthless power plays. Victoria, in her hubris, saw Jade merely as another desperate soul to manipulate. But Jade was far more than a waitress seeking refuge. She had once studied the intricate dance of human psychology, trained to discern the truths hidden beneath the facades people wear. With a polite smile, she signed the contract in Victoria's opulent office, her mind already weaving its own intricate web. Oh, how Victoria would learn. Not all can be bought, and underestimating those who seem ordinary might just be the grandest folly of the mighty. By welcoming Jade into her empire, Victoria unwittingly invited a master of human nature to scrutinize her every move. As days turned into weeks, the secrets long buried under the Bennett family's opulent facade began to stir, to rise from the shadows. The balance of power so long tipped in Victoria's favor was about to shift in ways she could never have foreseen. 3 months had passed since Jade had first stepped into the Bennett's lives, and the stage was set for a confrontation that would change everything. The once daunting mansion had now become a place of comfort and familiarity. Under Jade's tender care, Clara was flourishing, her mind unfurling like a flower starved for sunlight, revealing a sharp intelligence and an insatiable curiosity that had been suppressed by years of overprotection. One evening, as her fingers danced over the embossed pages of an astronomy book in Braille, Clara mused, "The stars must be like music we can't hear." Her voice a whisper of wonder. "We feel their presence, even when our eyes can't perceive them." From a distance, Victoria observed her expression inscrutable. "Clara has never been this animated," she remarked later, her voice tinged with a mix of awe and suspicion. "What magic have you worked on her?" "Nothing magical," Jade replied with a gentle smile. "I simply treat her as the person she is not as her disability." The following morning, while sorting through Clara's collection of books, Jade stumbled upon a concealed box at the back of a closet. Inside, nestled among forgotten items, were a diary and a USB stick. "That's Mom's diary," Clara revealed, sensing Jade's hesitation. "Trevor helped me hide it." Trevor Bennett, Victoria's rarely mentioned brother, had been part of that secretive act. After Clara drifted into sleep, Jade's curiosity led her to insert the USB into her laptop. What she discovered left her reeling. Photos of Victoria, her smile radiant and unfamiliar, videos capturing Clara before her sight was taken, and newspaper headlines that had never seen the light of day. Bennett Technologies CEO investigated for driving under the influence. One headline screamed, "Victoria Bennett's daughter may lose sight permanently," another warned. An email from Trevor to Victoria, dated shortly after the accident, was the most chilling. "Vic, the lawyers have managed to suppress the story. The judge sealed the records. The driver of the other car accepted the settlement agreement. Clara deserves to know the truth someday." Victoria had not only caused the accident, but had also wielded her influence and wealth to silence the truth. The next morning, with a voice that betrayed a hint of urgency, Victoria announced, "I have a meeting with the Foundation for Visually Impaired Children. Clara is coming with me." Something in her tone, a slight quiver, perhaps alerted Jade. After some discreet research, she unearthed a chilling fact: there was no meeting scheduled at all. In an instinctive move, Jade slipped a small tracking device into Clara's backpack, a beacon of hope amidst a sea of deceit. 3 hours later, the tracker beeped, revealing a secluded location 100 kilometers from the city, a place shrouded in secrecy. With a pounding heart, Jade reached out to her only ally, Trevor Bennett, the man whose name was whispered in the shadows of this tangled web. When Trevor answered, his voice carried the weight of years of hidden truths. He recounted the grim reality: Victoria had systematically canceled Clara's experimental treatments over the past 5 years, procedures that might have restored some of her vision. "Why?" Jade's voice broke, her horror palpable through the phone. "Guilt control." Trevor explained, his tone somber. "Victoria fears that if Clara regains her sight, she'll see her mother for who she truly is, the architect of her blindness." Guided by the GPS, they arrived at an isolated clinic, a fortress of denial. Through the window, they witnessed Victoria in a heated argument with a doctor, while Clara, oblivious to the storm brewing, waited in confusion within an exam room. "She repeats these tests twice a year," Trevor whispered, "to ensure Clara remains in the dark. She pays specialists to confirm there's no hope, even when there is." Clara, as if sensing their presence, turned her head toward them. "Enough," Jade declared, her voice a blend of determination and despair. "Clara deserves the truth." As they stepped into the clinic, Victoria's face paled. "What are you doing here?" she demanded, her voice trembling with fear. "It's over, Victoria," Trevor said firmly, brandishing a folder. "I have copies of everything: the accident, the cover-up, the denied treatments." "You don't understand," Victoria whispered, desperation clawing at her words. "I can't lose her." "She already knows," Jade interjected, pointing to Clara, who approached with a silent grace. "I always knew, Mom." Clara's voice was small but firm, cutting through the tension like a knife. "I heard you crying every night. What I never understood was why you didn't let me try to see again." Victoria crumbled, falling to her knees as if her world had collapsed. Clara reached out her fingers, mapping the tears on her mother's face. "I wouldn't hate you for the truth, Mom. I hate you for the lies." The once formidable Victoria Bennett, now a figure of tragic ruin, was enveloped by the gravity of her daughter's words. The house of cards had fallen and the truth stark and unyielding stood in its place. Clara, shattered by an overwhelming sense of guilt and fear, stood as the doctor approached with a hesitant step. Miss Clara, he began, his voice a delicate balance of hope and caution. The new treatment offers a 60% chance of partial recovery. Your mother has declined it for 5 long years. Clara's eyes, swimming in a sea of confusion and pain, searched for Jade, reaching out to clasp her hand. "What would you do?" she asked, her voice a mere whisper of vulnerability. Jade, her touch firm and comforting, replied with a gentle yet unwavering tone. "What I would do matters not. What matters, Clara, is what you want." In that moment, Victoria watched her world tilting on its axis as her daughter made a choice that should have been hers to make ages ago. The empire of control, so meticulously constructed, began to disintegrate, not from public scrutiny, but from the intimate, undeniable truth shared between a mother and her daughter. The extraordinary reversal of roles was palpable. Victoria Bennett, the puppeteer of fortunes and fates, now found herself powerless, watching as a waitress she once tried to manipulate, and a child she shielded with deceit redrew the future of the Bennett lineage. "I want to try the treatment," Clara declared, her voice resonating with newfound strength. "And I want Jade to be with me every step of the way." Victoria's eyes, once hard and calculating, now brimmed with a vulnerability so raw it was as if the ice around her heart had begun to thaw. With a silent nod, she agreed to her daughter's choice, and in that moment, the foundation of their relationship began to shift, to heal. What none could have foreseen was that the true miracle wouldn't just be the potential restoration of Clara's vision, but the commencement of a painful, necessary healing within a family fractured by secrets and guilt. For Victoria Bennett, the hardest lesson of all was just beginning. Sometimes salvation comes from those we once thought we could control. 6 months slipped by, and autumn painted the Bennett mansion garden in hues of gold, its leaves whispering tales of change and renewal. With Clara adorned in her special dark glasses, she pointed with childlike excitement at the nearest tree. "I can see the outline. It's both brown and orange," she declared, her voice brimming with sheer delight. The experimental treatment had not fully restored her sight, but it had gifted her the ability to perceive shadows, outlines, and on the best of days, a spectrum of colors. For someone who had wandered in darkness for 5 long years, this was akin to rediscovering the world anew. From the porch, Victoria observed the scene, her hands slightly trembling around a cup of tea. Her corporate empire still stood strong, yet a profound shift had occurred within her soul. The fall she had experienced wasn't one of public disgrace or financial ruin. It was deeply personal. "It's still hard for her," Trevor remarked, settling beside his sister. "Seeing Clara improve forces her to face her actions." "And what I didn't do," Victoria echoed silently, her voice stripped of its usual icy edge. 5 years lost to fear and guilt." Trevor offered a gentle smile. "But not 7 or 10 or a lifetime. You finally ceased running." At Bennett Technologies, the winds of change were palpable to all. The once relentless CEO now made it a point to leave work at 5 sharp for Clara's therapy sessions. The Bennett Foundation for Visually Impaired Children, previously just a facade for public relations, had transformed into a genuine priority, channeling funds into innovative research and accessible treatments. Jade, ever vigilant, watched these changes with a cautious optimism. She continued her role as Clara's companion, but now also took charge of the foundation's social initiatives. Meanwhile, her brother Daniel, with his prodigious talent, finally had the stage he deserved at Wellington Academy, enchanting audiences with his piano performances. "Did you anticipate this?" Victoria inquired one afternoon as they watched Clara and Daniel harmonize at the piano. "That she could improve, that I could change." Jade paused, her gaze thoughtful. "I knew Clara deserved a chance. As for you, well, my dear friend, I wagered on a chance, a possibility," and Victoria nodded in understanding. "You know what truly terrifies me? It's not the notion of Clara holding me accountable for the accident. No, it's the stark realization of how much of my life I've spent trying to orchestrate everything, to bend everyone to my will, when the only true power we possess is in our own decisions." That very night, Victoria summoned Jade into her office. Spread across the table were a set of documents, their significance as palpable as the air. "I want you to take the helm of the foundation," she declared, her voice unwavering. "Not as a mere employee, but as my equal, my partner." Jade, with eyes wide in disbelief, sifted through the papers. Victoria was offering her not just a position, but a stake, 40% ownership, complete independence, and a budget that could transform the lives of thousands of children. "Why?" Jade's voice was a mix of suspicion and awe, still reeling from months of psychological sparring. "Because you saw my daughter for who she truly is when all I could see was her disability," Victoria responded, her voice laced with a newfound sincerity. "Because you found truth where I saw only control. And because this foundation needs someone who understands that compassion cannot be purchased." There was an earnestness in the eyes of the woman who just 6 months prior believed that everyone and everything had a price. On Clara's birthday, the Bennett mansion opened its doors to guests for the first time in years. Not the usual crowd of executives or politicians, but children from the foundation and their families. In the heart of the garden, Clara, now adorned with glasses that allowed her to perceive basic shapes and colors, proudly showcased an exhibition of tactile sculptures she had crafted. She explained with joy how she could see with her hands, her voice mingling with the laughter of children. "Any regrets?" Trevor inquired, observing his sister interact with the families, her former condescension nowhere to be seen. "Not for a moment," Jade replied, her smile warm and genuine. A curious child approached Victoria, puzzled. "Are you blind too?" he asked, seeing her close to Clara. "No, my dear." Victoria knelt down, her eyes meeting the child's. "I am learning to see in a new way, just like Clara. Yet here we are at the threshold of understanding where the essence of life's lessons has not just been learned, but deeply felt. My daughter and a remarkable friend illuminated my vision, teaching me the art of truly seeing." After the crowd had dispersed, Clara, with a heart as boundless as the sky, presented Victoria with a gift, a small canvas, where textures danced with the few colors she could perceive. "Sometimes we must lose something to truly cherish what we have," Clara whispered, her words a soft echo of wisdom. Victoria Bennett, once a woman who believed she could steer fate itself, had absorbed the most profound lesson of her existence from a waitress who stood firm against commodification, and from a daughter courageous enough to embrace truth even when it hurt. Her empire stood strong, yet its roots had been irrevocably transformed. Jade learned that the alchemy of changing lives didn't demand wealth or power, but the bravery to cling to one's principles in a world where everything seemed to have a price. Sometimes the mere act of looking beyond disabilities, societal labels, or past errors and seeing the person beneath is the first stroke on the canvas of transformation, not just for one, but for generations to come. If this tale of redemption and metamorphosis has stirred your soul, please subscribe to our channel for more narratives that reveal how the smallest seeds of kindness can blossom into towering trees of change. Share your stories in the comments below. Have you ever seen a simple act of empathy rewrite the narrative of a life? Sometimes all it takes to begin anew is someone who sees past our flaws, reminding us that our story is far from its final chapter. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Your likes, comments, and shares are the lifeblood of our community. Let's keep the conversation going, let's keep the empathy flowing, and together let's continue to witness and inspire transformation. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.